Hi, this is Sam.
And I'm Jim.
And this is Second Order Effects. Today we're talking about military standards, which has been a hot topic.
So there's a lot of chatter about why bring all of these generals and admirals together in one place. Sometimes you got to look people in the eye when you're going to tell them difficult things. And this was it. Yeah, you got to give them a little knife hand. We have 800 generals and admirals. As a matter of fact, we have more Navy admirals than we have ships.
Oh, goodness.
It's absurd. You've got different jobs in the military, a plethora of different jobs. Some of them are pointing into the spear, combat facing. Some of them are more support oriented. The first thing I think that has been a helpful change is to make that split.
Do we really need a cybersecurity specialist sitting in an office at Fort Meade, Maryland, maintaining the same physical standard as a airborne infantry ranger downrange?
Or Navy SEAL. I mean, spitting those balls on their nose, that takes a tremendous amount of strength and agility.
There should have never been a female standard and a male standard. You know, that's been pissing me off for decades.
And let's be clear, you were a paratrooper back in the days where there were not a ton of female jumping out of airplanes while in flight.
Well, there was a reason for that. And that's because I hated that there were two standards. So that's why I pursued airborne. Because when you're jumping out of an airplane, the parachute does not care that you're a female.
Right.
The airplane doesn't care you're a female. That air you're floating through doesn't care, and that ground you hit could absolutely give a shit.
And I think that puts in perfect, focus the idea that the mission should dictate what the standards are, not your gender, not your race. There's no other thing that matters. If there is a standard to be met, it should be based on what the job requires and what the unit requires. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Nothing else. And that's one of the first things our new Secretary of War did when he came in, was he changed it to one standard.
And I want to point something out. When he was nominated, we contacted Pete. I've known him for quite a long time, since back when he was running Vets for Freedom, and told him that you are a multi-combat tour, former paratrooper, retired lieutenant colonel, who has some ideas about how to deal with the issue of women in the military and standards. And you wrote him a paper. And obviously you weren't the only one talking to him about this, but the final position he's taken is pretty close to what you were recommending.
Yeah, darn close. He listened. There was definitely some controversy then when he was initially nominated because of some interviews he had given that had said no women in combat. Well, that's not a winning position, and he definitely saw that. It wasn't helpful to women to create a system where we had a lower standard. Right. And that was what I always said, because when women have a lower standard, then every single woman is looked at as being part of that lower standard.
She just got there because she got the easy way.
Well, she's only here because she's a woman. She didn't have the same physical requirements. She didn't have to do all of these things. No. When I took a PT test, the score came back with my female score. So when I maxed the PT test, it was based on the female numbers. Well, I always rolled my eyes at that. Like, yeah, really? What I did is I was holding myself to the male standard. What's my score? If I can pass the male test, if I can max the male test, which at times I did.
Okay, and I'll lay it on the line. When we were both in our prime, I was Army Special Forces, Green Beret, and you were a paratrooper, you could do more legitimate, to the standard push-ups than I could. I know the most I ever did was, I think, 85 or 86 in 2 minutes.
Well, that's cute, Jim.
I know. Come on, lay it on me.
Yeah, mine was 112.
That's ridiculous. I think it's the arms. Whatever.
That's point always being, your story.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's harder for tall people.
It is.
Yeah, sure.
The point being, you met and exceeded the standard for women and met and exceeded the standard for men, proving you had a right to be there. And I think that's what we're looking at now is Secretary of War has said, we will have a standard, and whoever meets it goes, whoever fails goes away.
So I didn't see him as making it an issue of women. Mm-hmm. I heard it, and I'm very critical when I'm watching things like this. Mm-hmm. So I heard it as one standard. Right. And does that mean that there will be some women who don't make it? Yeah. Does that mean that there are going to be some men who don't make it?
He said some weak men. He laid it down, and good. Let's do that. That's what we want. That's what everybody who serves wants, the best, most capable person to their left and right. Period.
When I was early in Desert Storm, had only been there a couple days. This is in early August. I was on one of the first planes that landed. There was a lot of resistance from the host nation. The Saudis, there were a lot of folks there who did not appreciate seeing women, especially a female officer, telling men what to do. I'm directing actions. Oh boy, I'll tell you, that was tough. But the funny thing there is, we looked at it as we're all one, we're soldiers. Right. And there was a memo that came out from the Defense Department that said, there are no women in country.
Yeah, due to host nation concerns, we want to confirm that there are no women deployed on Operation Desert Shield to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
And I'm sitting there with the Saudi sun just beating down on me, sitting on a cot, reading this, thinking,
excuse me.
Hello. The other point that I made was age. Mm-hmm. That age should not be a criteria when you're looking at your height and weight and physical standards.
Because right now, the way it works is the older you get, the less you have to do on a physical fitness test to pass. And the mission didn't change. Now you can make a case that the farther up and more senior you get, you're less likely to be in a physically demanding position, but I'm not sure that works out. The sergeant major of an infantry unit is quite likely to be very near the same position as is the brigade commander and battalion commander. And why would they get a lesser standard than the privates who are doing the bulk of the fighting there? I don't think that's the way it should work. So you mentioned women being judged as if they didn't meet the standard when there were lower standards or when they were letting things slide. DEI did the same thing. It did it based on other physical innate characteristics. And I think that's another thing that Secretary Hegseth went ahead and said, we're not going to do that anymore. It's going to be merit and merit alone. And your abilities and experience and skills are going to get you promoted no matter who you are. Man, woman, black, white, whatever.
So one standard, mission-based. It's something I've been calling for, pushing for decades.
That's what the military needs. It's all about accomplishing the mission. None of the rest of it matters. So, I'm Jim.
And I'm Sam. And this is Second Order Effects.